north, she'll still see the sky. So, indeed, it's a good morning. Yeah, I understand the president said that. Good morning and welcome, Amalkwe Yusuf.
Well, some of us had a very short night. I don't know who they are, but they are somewhere beside me. Good morning and welcome. We're bright and sprightly. I am Bukola Koka.
Speaking of what the president said, let the poor breathe is what I'm starting with today. And you know, a lot of people can resonate with it. Well, welcome to Lagos. I'm Kayode Okikiolu. We're starting off with something quite curious. You may have caught that if you're quite active on social media. A lot of people saw that and it sent shockwaves, really. Their minds wondering, what is going on here? Is this for real? What are we speaking about? It is a tweet by the Department of State Service, that's the DSS. Well, a tweet on Twitter, of course, yesterday that got a lot of people talking. We're going to show you that tweet in a moment, but it raises a lot of questions, really. Questions about, you know, the modus operandi, the way communication works for government agencies. It raises questions about, was the account of the DSS hacked? Was it really from the DSS? Because, I mean, if you've seen statements and tweets by the DSS, you will know the tone, the language, the way the DSS frames its statement. But this one did not look anything like that. So the tweet was about, you know, a certain lawyer. It was about, even referenced the suspended CBN governor and all of that. But if we could just show you that tweet right now. It's from official DSSNG. If you're familiar with the DSS handle, you know that that is where they put out their statements from time to time, at official DSSNG. And that tweet, which was put out at about 12:50 p.m., that was yesterday, July the 18th. It's since gone viral on Twitter, really. So the tweet essentially says, charge and bail overzealous, uninformed IPOB ESN lawyer Maxwell Okpara mobilizes other like-minded lawyers against DGSS. That's the Director General, I imagine, of the DSS. It's, again, very curious exactly what is going on. And this tweet has been on for, well, close to, I mean, in a few hours, it'll be 24 hours, a full day since this tweet has been out. It's not been deleted. The DSS has not come out to say, well, this is not from us, this is what happened, or indeed, this is from us, we've changed our language, the way we communicate and all that. It raises a lot of questions, not just for the communication, but for the security agencies themselves. I mean, you don't expect that the DSS would be hacked because it is the DSS. That is like a very top-level security agency in Nigeria. But then it talks about the general conversation around security, how security is handled. If an intelligence agency is not able to come out to speak to this almost 24 hours after it was put out, I mean, you wonder. That's the tweet right there. Part of the tweet, it was two tweets actually, a thread that was put out. So that's the first part of the tweet that was put out 12:50 p.m. yesterday, and then there's a second part of it. So questions are being asked the DSS today. Bukola, I don't know. You must have seen that as well.
You were talking about tone.
Yeah.
We're talking about framing, and the tone of this is a bit unlike what will come out of a government agency. Yeah. We can just go over it. Charge and bail overzealous, uninformed IPOB ESN lawyer Maxwell Okpara mobilizes other like-minded lawyers against DGSS. Futile efforts. Well, Nigerians, beware. This is in bad faith, transferred aggression. It also goes on to say that, you know, is IPOB defending one of theirs? That sounded a bit extreme and, in fact, reminiscent of the position of the team of constitutional lawyers, you know, that addressed the press on the manner in which the DSS was going about, you know, the prosecution of the suspended CBN governor, you know, urging them, you know, to do it in line with the law. I, in fact, recall that one of the lawyers said that Nigeria is not a banana republic. The DSS must follow, you know, procedure, constitutional procedure in, you know, charging the suspended CBN governor. But this, again, is unlike, you know, the handle that would serve as the official information source of a government agency. So we'll not run ahead of ourselves to make conclusions, that this is authentic, although it's coming from the verified Twitter handle of the DSS. But we await an explanation, and, it's just in line, with the work of the media to draw attention to this and ask what exactly is happening. Chamberlain Amakwe.
I don't know, Bukola and Kaidi. Yes, indeed. I think with a colleague of mine who drew my attention to this particular tweet yesterday, and he had he had a theory, not an explanation. He had a theory, and he said, "Oh, it's possible that the person who tweets on behalf of the DSS thought he was still tweeting with his own handle, and it turns out that he was actually coming out on the DSS page." But considering the fact, so I asked him, has it been deleted? And he said, it hasn't. It's still there. But Nigerians have munched it down just in case. But looks like Kayode has been following that particular tweet and, wanting to see whether it's been deleted so far. And he says it's not. I was trying to check on my own Twitter handle to see if that particular tweet has now been deleted. For some reason, it's telling me I can't retrieve tweets at this time, so I can't even see what's happening on Twitter. I really do not. It's very difficult to know what to say to this because, as he said, I mean, his theory, which was highly probable, will only hold water if that has now been deleted. If it hasn't, then maybe the DSS knows something. Now we don't. Maybe they're actually trying to pass out an information about this lawyer, that we do not have. So the question now is this the manner in which they should pass it across? For a government agency that's supposed to be prosecuting people, this sounded rather partisan. Should I say partisan? It had the language of politics. I'm trying to find the appropriate words for it now. It just doesn't sound, as you have said, like something that should come out of a government agency that is doing its work in a neutral fashion. It sounds like, it's descending into the arena, or it's, going into the same. It's about to, wear gloves and go into the mud with whoever it actually wants to challenge. And I don't think that this is the way that a government agency should carry out its functions. In the first instance, I know a lot of people, showed reservations when they heard that the DSS was on Twitter. That day, I think the DSS trended because we were wondering, what is that about? Are you trying to follow us and to see what it is that we're tweeting? But apparently, I don't think anyone has reported that yet. It does appear that the DSS also wants to get into the arena. That's why they're on the social media handle, or they have a Twitter handle in the first instance. But this is not the kind of tweet or the kind of explanation. And well, now that we know that their handle is very, very very active. Okay? I think that we can be posing questions there. Maybe we can expect some answers from the DSS, not keep mute and say, they're a government agency that doesn't talk. If this is how they're chosen to talk, this is not the manner in which Nigerians expect their Department of State Services to speak to them. Chamberlain.
Wonders never cease, So first of all, I woke up this morning, got onto the roads, and goodness me, it was almost empty. And I thought, what's going on? I almost called a few people, but yeah. It was the same kind of scenario that I saw when that first fuel price increase happened and the roads were deserted. People were trying to get used to what was going on, but apparently, I'm not sure there's any getting used to as of yet on that one. And who knows, it might be for a while to come, but a different matter, which we'll talk about today on the program as well. But, excuse me, for this tweet, it's rather disappointing, appalling, to say the least, that this is still there. It wasn't one tweet, so theorists still think it might have been an error. Two of them, that right after they had tweeted that former CBN governor had been charged. There you go. After this one came through, several others came. But, these are the kind of things you see, and it raises a huge question. And these agencies and either security services, whichever one, they expect cooperation from Nigerians. They want Nigerians to volunteer information to them, which is the lifeblood, so that they can succeed, which it happens the world over. That's part of the huge success that they record. How did you then get all of that if this is the impression you give to Nigerians, citizens, who, by the way, are your employers? They pay you with taxpayers' funds. So if this is the kind of attitude that comes through from the service, it's shocking. It shouldn't be. Look, and secondly, you know, and by the way, guys, September 2021, the UAE named 6 Nigerians. Their names are all there online. Their names are all there. 6 Nigerians as financiers of Boko Haram, 6 of them. And it wasn't, then in 2022, the US themselves went ahead and also sanctioned 6 Nigerians, same 6 Nigerians, for raising funds in the UAE to support Boko Haram terrorist group. That was in 2022. It's not coincident. What did the DSS do about all of those things? Well, maybe we're not aware if anything is done about them. And if we're not aware, we should be aware. So it serves as a deterrent to any other person who wants to. So these kind of things are the kind of things that should be shocking. It should never, ever happen. And what we also find, I mean, lawyers can pick up any case, for crying out loud. They are professionals. They can defend anyone they want. It's up to them to decide to defend. So you don't expect a professional lawyer who takes a case and then you tag him, you see him in that particular way. It's just like people come forward and say, well, maybe whichever government is in power, and then they say, oh, DSS is APC DSS, or judiciary, APC judiciary, because they happen to be the government in power at the time. Or if it's PDP, they say the same thing, PDP judiciary or PDP DSS. That technically is not what they want. And then you see these kind of things, you just wonder, because what we also have seen is, look, certain agencies of government who expect professionals to be above board, who are their supervising agencies, are card-carrying members of political parties. But yet, they expect us all to be above board. Look, they need to look in the mirror and ensure that these kind of things don't happen. It's taxpayers' funds. It's not your pocket money. You're not beholden to whoever is in power, either at the state government level, the governor, or the president. It is taxpayers' money. It belongs to all of us in this country, and they all should be accountable to them. So you can't keep creating us and them scenario and expect them to volunteer information to you. It will not happen. So maybe I live in another planet where this kind of things doesn't mean anything to them. And if it is still there, the DSS should be talking to Nigerians about explaining, why is this the case? Why did you tweet this way? Can you imagine any media house, any media person tweet something in that manner? Oh, goodness me. They would have rained all sorts of invectives on people. But now, you see this. I just wonder. All right, that said, we'll just go ahead and take you through some of the dailies. We'll start with New Telegraph this morning. Sudden PMS pump price hike. Shock, outcry, despair as fuel hits 617 naira in Abuja and 568 naira / 700 naira in Lagos. Well, maybe they don't call it the most expensive city to live for nothing. So, Kaide, you were not there yesterday. Ayo and Buki, we became, we almost called them Buki Bureau of Statistics and Ayo Bureau of Statistics, giving us those materials. But now, look at this. And I tell you, it wasn't any laughing matter to anyone when they saw this fuel price. They thought, oh my goodness, what is this? And imagine, look at the riders. Let me just read that. Kano, 620 naira. Bauchi, 650 naira. Labour, others kick. NNPCL blames market forces. Ipman holds naira fall liable. NNDPRA fingers rising crude prices, freight rate increase. Nigerians being deceived. Labour asks, FG to retrace its steps. Predict pump price may rise to, look at that, 1,000 naira soon. Oh boy. NDPRA, why is it that we only read about you when your finger price freight rates increase? Why don't we see you in those fuel stations to ensure that at least Nigerians have the benefit of the doubt to be sure that, look, if I'm going to buy fuel, I need to be sure that, look, how did they say it? What betide any fuel station that tried to, what's that word now? To manipulate that pump price at this rate? Oh boy.
Manipulate a liter. They give you less than a liter.
Which is, at the moment, in some areas, 617, 700. And then you still want to manipulate that. I had to think about that is even possible. But look, anything can happen these days. You never know. Just never say never, so that you have allowance to absorb shock. And then at the bottom strip, Nigerian constitution, military, not democratic, but the George. Nigerians need good governance from elected leaders, Uzodinma. Nation has failed to achieve its potential, Diri. So all of that you see right here on the front page of this. And then, oh there, NARC, FG paid 2.8 trillion naira subsidy for electricity under Buhari. So if this is the case, why do they then keep applying? I think recently 6 of those discos did apply for rate increase.
They did.
So
yeah, they're following the process now.
So this 2.8 trillion, what then happened? Look, I think this government needs to revisit this
electricity sector.
Yes. Yes, they've signed the bill, but this existing discourse, they need to be revisited, because you can't expect people to be buying fuel at 618 naira or 700 naira per litre, and then they get to their homes, they don't have any power supply. Those who are supposed to be on band A, by the way, estates people, make sure you go ahead and check. There was a case of an estate, they were supposed to be on band A, they put them on B. A was supposed to get about 20 hours of electricity. They were getting way less, and they were charging them for being on band A. So go out there and check, because these days, how do they say? Shine your eyes, guys. Go out there and check. Unless you're getting your money from the tree.
Shine your eyes.
You know?
There is no English way of saying it. It's what it is. Shine your eyes and shine your eyes, Triple.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Yesterday, the Vanguard is reporting just what the reaction was yesterday. Anger. That's what you see there. There's a joke I was watching. International comedy show. And this person was talking about anger, and it was how the Nigerian on the show said it.
Oh, okay.
I think he was seeing how they say anger.
Look, you need comedy in this country at this point in time.
You do.
Because people...
If you don't laugh, oh, Lord.
Please help yourself.
I don't know what your fate is going to
Help
be,
yourself.
so please.
Because...
Excuse me if I'm laughing a lot. I mean, I took that pill of 617 naira per litre yesterday, and mine, it was bitter. So please
It was anger. Not anger. It was anger. The way
well, let's just say I took it with gratitude, because I said, well, at least I still have somebody to be able to buy petrol in this car.
Oh,
I don't know how people who don't have, will deal with it, but this is the situation. And that's what Vanguard is reporting this morning. Anger as petrol hits 568 naira per litre in Lagos, 617 naira in Abuja, others. That's the lead story on the front page of the Vanguard newspapers. Motorists, commuters groan nationwide. Market forces driving up petrol prices, says NNPCL. NNPCL CEO Kiari adds no shortfall in petrol supply. Because, initially it was a little difficult to understand seeing queues at petrol stations. Like, what's going on? And then I think it was that some petrol stations did not increase their prices immediately. Some of them were trying to be ethical. They said, oh, we still have old stock. As such, until we deplete this stock. It happened in some fuel stations here in Abuja. I don't know about anywhere else. The moment you deplete this, then we'll, get new stock, will increase the price. So some people were trying to take advantage of that by queuing up at those stations to quickly buy at the old rate. Before they started tasting this 617 naira per litre. Well, NNPC stations didn't waste any time. 617 naira is how much they are selling now. NMDPRA blames rising crude prices on freight costs. Ipman worries over fresh rise in price. NLC rejects new pump price, says it's provocative. Adds situation wasn't poverty, hardship in Nigeria. Local refining only way out. That's according to NECA. So you might want to look at details on page 5 of the paper. Subsidy removal. Tinubu orders review of proposed 8,000 naira cash transfer. Plans to unveil federal government's palliative package. We saw that on the news yesterday. The spokesperson of the president talking about how that particular element of the palliative package will be reviewed. Yeah, and of course, something we emphasized on the program yesterday, anthrax. Stop eating meat from sick animals. NDDC warns Nigerians.
Just one
well, Momo, everything, just be careful. Please be careful. You cannot, lose money and lose health. In fact, if there's anything you must keep, it must be health, because he who has health has wealth. So please do look after your health and make sure that you do not eat animals that were killed while they were sick. Look at the number of other stories. Business right there. Oil exploration. Nigeria's rig count rises to 27.7% to 14. It's according to a report. Court asks EcoBank to pay Honeywell 72.2 billion naira damages. Okay, that is also right there. That battle, still battle royale, I should say, still hasn't ended. It does appear that the matter has gone back to court. Okay, a number of other stories. I don't know whether to go through them now. Mr. and Mrs. is right there on the front page. And today is what? Today is Wednesday, right?
I can only think about 617 naira per litre right now. That's all I remember now.
That's really figuring.
I don't know the dates. That's all I know now.
Okay, I'll help myself. It's Wednesday, yeah?
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Mrs. is complaining, and Mrs. should not be complaining at this time. She says, I labored every day to prepare your favorite meals, only for you to come home late and abandon the food. You're not offering me money. It's annoying and painful. And Mr. says, I know. That's why I'm offering you a painkiller. At least Mr. still has some money, to dish on Mrs. But we'll leave it there for Vanguard newspapers.
And we'll turn to Daily Trust newspaper. Now you know why I was chuckling yesterday when I was talking about Lagos being the most expensive state. We all need courage in the face of, so many adversities at this time in our political history. But Daily Trust rather, also focuses on, the increase in the pump price of petrol, and this is the way it's captioned. It initially begins, with that tiny line capturing the price of petrol, but that is just the reality in Abuja, by the way, in the FCT. You go to other states of the Federation, petrol is being sold for as high as 637 naira per litre in some states. I think that's Yobe. In other states, 620. The highest I've heard so far is 637 naira per litre. But this is, the way Daily Trust chooses to report it. FG on path to dictatorship will resort to self-help. That's attributed to the NLC. And indeed, the president of the Congress was on our sister program yesterday, and he had quite a lot to say, one of which is the cash transfer plan is one to rob the poor to pay the rich. Very huge innuendo there. Well, take a look at the riders, listen to them. Commuters groan as commercial drivers hike fares. Market forces responsible. As ascribed to the CEO of NNPCL. And he also said something about how the prices can come down. I don't recall any time when the prices have come down.
It will be a miracle,
It will be a miracle, right?
We look forward to that miracle.
Well, there was a time under former President Goodluck Jonathan when there was a 10 naira reduction. That was also ascribed to the market forces.
Oh, that was in Yaradua's time?
The former President Goodluck Jonathan, about a 10 naira reduction at that time. Well, commuters groan as commercial drivers hike fares, market forces responsible, and NPCL increase minimum wage to 100,000 naira. Civil society. I doubt that can do any good if there are projections that the price could hit 1,000 naira very soon. Tinubu orders review of 8,000 naira palliatives. That's some of the stories that demand attention this morning. If you go to the bottom strip, farmers flee Borno villages as Boko Haram killings return. Now, that is very worrying. The thought was that, security operatives had reined in on insurgents in the northeast, at least to a large extent. So that needs to be looked at. And then it appears that the, pump price and the price of petrol is affecting not just, the economy and other sectors like electricity. Listen to this. Bond kicks as NBC most license fee hike. Broadcasting code review. So it appears that, electronic media will have to deal with an increase in the near future. And finally, freight service begins on Lagos-Ibadan fast train. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust.
It would seem that during both administrations, actually, there was some downward review of the price of petrol during President Jonathan and Yaradua. So we're both right at the end of the day. Both can coexist. Beautiful. Take a look at Leadership newspaper. Leadership has this one as the lead. It's very, very interesting. One tries to take you through the process across different administrations. That's the big picture. But the story, the caption, is on petrol price. Labour CSO's kick as NNPCL blames market forces for increase. So the pictorial shows fuel pump price rises by over 5,000% in 30 years. And it dates all the way back to during General Abacha's time, where petrol was sold at 11 naira. So when people say the good old days, this is what they refer to, or part of what they refer to. Now it's at 617 naira. During President Jonathan's tenure, the lowest was 65, the highest was 141. And I think for a lot of people, they might remember that Occupy Nigeria protest, when the government at that time removed subsidy. And I wonder what they'll be thinking about now. First, for those who opposed it, for the opposition at that time, which is now in government. For, Labour and the rest. Those who opposed it then, I just wonder what will be running through their minds right now. But
the beautiful irony of the situation, the same government that opposed it at that time, which was in the opposition, has now finally, buried subsidy.
I saw the former president at the State House yesterday, and lots of thoughts were just running through my mind. That's former President Jonathan.
Good luck, Jonathan.
When he said he came to discuss ECOWAS matters, but I was just thinking, would he at some point say, remember what you did? I mean, you could have just let that happen then, but I mean, these are the issues. A couple more stories really just reflect some of the headlines you've seen across board this morning. It's a big conversation. We'll get into it for you, but let's leave it there for Leadership.
So there you go. I mean, if Labour, CSOs are all kicking, nothing wrong with Bond also kicking. Bond, please kick. Take a look at The Guardian now. Nigerians groan as higher fuel prices shrink incomes, worsen poverty. That's what we face right now. So sometimes don't let yourself be led by the nose by agents or groups, whoever. So if at that time they opposed it, and then now this is what we face. And then look at this. Senate unveils Tinubu's ministerial list today. So the ministers will be, I think have they hit the ground? Okay, well, look. They'll be coming amidst all of these things, so they should be ready to face a barrage of questions concerning what they have to do to ensure that Nigerians stop groaning, as The Guardian reports this morning. That is it with the news at some of the front pages this morning. We will be back in just a moment, so stay on with us.
Nigerians may be facing tougher times in the coming days as there's yet another hike in pump price across the country. In Lagos, stations managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited are selling at 568 naira per litre.
What is going on in the country is that everybody has been involved. If there's corruption that is going on, everybody is partaking of it because the money will be revolving through the country. So if other people are putting their prices up, now we are facing the reality. So the reality is done on all of us, so we should bear the brunt of what we have all enjoyed together.
I am really disappointed. I just saw these prices now, and I don't have a choice. I must move. On a weekly basis, I spend over 30,000 naira using my car just within, not traveling. It's unfair. I don't know where we are going. If we are going to buy at international market prices, do we earn international salaries?
In Abeokuta, the Gunse capital, fuel stations are closed in anticipation of the new pump price regime of 600 naira per litre, leaving residents and commuters frustrated.
It is not palatable for us. Even we've been running skater, moving up and down to look for fuel, and we couldn't get it. Like the filling station we are now, there's no fuel. People, the rate of inflation in the states now is not occurrence. It's unbearable.
In Edo State, motorists are also feeling the pinch as long queues can be seen at NNPC mega filling stations. The price is now pegged at 591 naira per litre in Benin City. In Kaduna State, some marketers have adjusted their price to 620 naira per litre, an action that has left motorists angered.
That boy just left me and started talking to one woman. Never know say they have raised the fuel price. To call his attention now was telling me say it's 620 naira. Is it a new stock or old stock? We are using old stock. Look at the other vehicle there now, waiting for fuel to be what's wrong. But still they are saying 620, using the twinkle of an eye. Where are we heading to as Nigerians? Is there any justification in it? In less than 10 minutes, somebody was here before me. He buy fuel at the rate of 520, 540. Now they are selling difference of 800 naira. No, let the government realize that certain things are worsening. We cannot just fold the hand and start being bearing. When last did they increase fuel price? No subsidy, nothing. Now overnight they say 620.
Independent marketers in Kano State are yet to adjust their pump price, as theirs is still pegged at 540 naira per litre. Even though the price is yet unchanged, fuel queues are said to be returning to petrol stations in the state. The situation is not any different in Taraba State, as residents are concerned about the price.
The situation is not only ridiculous, it is repulsive to human sensibility and sensitivity. It's an affront to our right as citizens. Fuel has just been increased not long ago to 550, and today we are witnessing 630. Do we have a government that have a heart, the people at heart? No. This is really unbearable for the average citizen.
In Jigawa State, stations managed by the NNPC are selling the pump price at 620 naira per litre. In the South region, the product is being sold at 591 naira per litre by independent marketers in Rivers State. It is barely 3 months since the president announced the removal of fuel subsidy, increasing pump price from 165 naira to 488 naira at the NNPC filling stations. Nigerians were yet recovering from that, and now this increase in pump price will affect everything else, from transportation to food prices. It is clear the road to economic recovery is perhaps a long way ahead.
Welcome back. Well, yes, that is what we're focusing on today, this increase in price of petrol per litre. Two gentlemen join us to weigh in on this one. Mr. Peter Esela, former president of Pengerson, joins us virtually. He's been there. He understands the argument in terms of what is going on and what the thinking is, what the thought was at the time. Perhaps will help us understand what might be the thought today. And then here in the studios, Mr. Chinedu Okonkwo, president of IPMAN. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Well. I mean, you could see the frustrations of Nigerians out there. Imagine just buying, just on the queue, somebody right in front of you buys it at 500 and something per litre, and then it gets to your turn, they tell you, no, it's now 600 plus per litre. As much as they may tell you international, the circumstances, the vagaries of the international dimension of the price, how do you explain that particular scenario? Is that part of the equation too? Is that part of the way it should be?
Well, I think in a regime such as this, you cannot rule out that because somebody who is selling would like to go back. And if from the source where he's getting this product have changed their price, getting to hear that, what do? You will adjust so that you still remain in the business. You know, some of my members have really gone out of business now because the cost of doing business is so high.
But the thing is, look, the market has already bought the product. It's already in the tank. They're dispensing at 500, probably 520 or 530 or 540 per litre. They already have the stock. So how is it that when you hear that some other areas have increased the prices, you jack up yours because you bought it at a different price? How do you explain that?
You need to be in business. If you will go back, you will go and buy at a new price.
No, but
yes.
Okay, go ahead, please. Let me understand.
You need to be in business. Assuming you are selling 520, then there is a sudden change from where you are getting it. You have to see how you can still be in business, how to still remain in business. I think that is what is happening.
But in this case, there isn't any proof whatsoever that there's a sudden change from where they got theirs. Because, in the same report, several other states were still selling at the old price.
Good.
They didn't jack up theirs. And then some other persons, it just appears as though this is arbitrary. It didn't seem as if there's any sort of regulation or standard procedure that they adhere to in dispensing petrol.
A regulation in a regime where there is no regulation. The system has been deregulated. That is what we have chosen. So for you to be in business, you must strive to remain focused and know what is happening. It's not anybody's making. The market fundamental is a corporate. Look at dollar right now. What is it going for?
I hear you, but what I'm asking is, there isn't any proof whatsoever that that particular marketer or they jacked it up from where they got theirs. Because assuming they were, without even considering or accepting that it happened, several other areas were selling at a lower price. Does it mean that that marketer cannot go to those areas where they haven't jacked it up? Why must he or she choose?
You should understand this business and understand the argument. We are buying from an NPC, especially my members, retail. And all of a sudden, the source where you are getting this product have changed their price.
That's the NPC?
Yes. So what do? You have to, at least, for you to remain in business, change so that you can go back and pick again. That is what has really happened.
I think what he's trying to ask is, when that change should happen. Should it happen when customers are right there on the queue? The person, as he explained, the person in front of him just bought at a lower price, and it gets to my turn, and then you tell me, oh, the price has just gone up. When should this kind of change? When should it happen?
No, the timing is not even the issue. The issue is that how do we mitigate this? I think that is what we should be looking at. What should the government do to ensure that this product, the way it's going, we need to work on our dollar?
No. So whilst government has that, and we'll still ask, that's a question we'll still ask. No. I'm just simply asking at that particular point. That person who came immediately after the person who just bought at 500 and maybe 50 or 560 and now has to pay more you know, who the next person on the line will certainly feel the pinch or even be very, 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 very angry. And that anger will be justified. So I'm asking you as a marketer, do you put those kind of little things into consideration before you effect a change? Or do you think, no, those kind of things are inconsequential?
Let me tell you. You know, you pick this product from the depot. The last change from where we were before, the conversion right now, some of my members have gotten to the level of putting product in their tankers. All of a sudden, everything had to go down and say, wait, we have an information that the price have changed. They didn't load them again. Some are even battling now to see how they can load on those old price. And another one has happened. Do we kill anybody?
So wait a minute. NNPC is so important. That's where everybody, your marketers are.
Yeah, for now.
So if they're all getting from NNPC.
For now.
So how do we explain then that some jack their prices up, others stay with the old price?
No. NNPC, like I said, they are commercial arm, the retail. That is where we're still getting our loading.
Yeah, we heard that.
Good. If that is true, and they have changed from what you are getting, because immediately they put on their filling station the price, they have already also changed from the source where we're getting.
I understand
so
that.
the fear will also be there for my members to say, hey, can we still be in business?
Okay, let's bring in Mr. Peter Salah.
Thank you.
He's been there. Mr. Salah, good morning. Thank you for joining us again today on the program. Well, yes, you can understand the agitation of Nigerians because you have also led a group who kicked against this removal because of probably these kind of reactions. So what can you tell us now about the way this is panning out in the country?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I think based on your earlier question to Mr. Okonkwo, I think I will start from there. What you have is that marketers are making a kill, the retail. You don't buy petrol every day. They don't go to the depot to collect from NNPC every day. So what they have is that they already have the product in the house, and then they decide to maximize profit. So the other states, because I also watch your correspondence report, the other states where you have they are still selling at that price. In a deregulated economy, the only thing that matters is strictly the morality of the owner of the retail outlet. So if the man has these high morals and feels that I bought at X amount and I decided to sell at this price, so I should stick to it until the other products that I have are completely exhausted. So it's strictly issue of morality. There are people who go out there and say, okay, this is a window. Let me make so much money out of this window. So that is that. I also understand why Mr. Okonkwo, as president, you also need to find a way not to throw your members under the bus. So I understand that. Now, the other aspect is this, the last time we had this interview and I told you we're going to pay higher in July. The reason for that is that when NNPC normally do between 60 to 90 days stock. So it's expected that NNPC stock, the new stock that NNPC got is different from the earlier one they got, which would have been not higher than 550 naira to the dollar. So if it's NNPC straight, you have NNPC can get CBN rate at 463. But if I am to look at what the other importers may get, which is if you are doing other thing with CBN, it's about 550. So 3 months ago, that was where NNPC was. So where is NNPC right now? Is that if NNPC is going to import, they can't import at 463 before the advent of this administration. So now, if NNPC is now importing at about, let's say 750 naira, let's say the last time they put an order for this, it should be about 750 naira. So NNPC cannot sell at the former price. So these are where the changes will come about. And then you also know that international crude oil prices have also gone up, and you have a falling naira. So it's more like a double whammy. So we are being buffeted from right to left. So these challenges, this is our new reality, our new normal. That the prices of petrol, you wake up this morning, may just be 617 in Abuja, 568 in Lagos. You may wake up tomorrow and it's 570. But what you are going to have is that this price may also likely maintain itself for another 30 to 45 days, except you suddenly start having increases in crude oil prices. So those are the challenges that we may have to face.
So the thing is this, pardon me. So now, right from what? The 60s, 70s, 80s till today, the Naira has always been falling. In other words, what we're going to face is this price will keep going up. Is that correct?
Yes, you're going to have the prices are going to go up, but the way the prices are going to go up may not be as because the way you put it now is frightening, may not be as frightening as that.
But that's the reality.
There are two things we need to do.
Okay.
There are two things we also need to do is that we need to get our FX liquidity is quite low. So what the government need to do is first we have to take advantage of the current prices, the current increase in the prices of crude oil. Unfortunately, we are about 500,000 to 600,000 barrels short of our daily production, OPEC quota for us. So that itself is over $60 million every day that we are losing. So when you have that challenge, that is one of it. The second aspect is that we are having pressure on FX. Why do we have pressure on FX? Because there are no local refinery. So I was hoping that by the end of July, or worst case scenario, August, we should be getting maybe 20-30% of it coming from Dangote before they go full stream. But I don't know what's happening there anymore. And I had a brief 2 weeks ago. The sitting president of Pengaston normally gives invited all past presidents. So we met and he laid all of this on the table to say these are some of the challenges right now. But the road ahead is going to be bumpy. It's going to be a tough road. But the government need to do something that will mitigate these challenges in this honeymoon period before the honey disappear.
When you led Pengaston at the time, Labour always agitated. They thought that no, government needed to put in place certain things before they go ahead and remove subsidy. From what you've seen now, do you think those conditions or any whatsoever were met or have been met?
No, those conditions have not been met. It's not just in the tenure, because you have a government that is barely 2 months old. And one of the things Labour have been saying over the years is fix our local refinery so that we don't have pressure on FX. If you are getting your product, what you are having now is there's huge pressure on FX. And by September, you are going to have about 20 or minimum 10 more companies joining to bring in products. So you are going to have more pressure on FX. So if we don't have local refinery, and then this pressure build on FX, what you are going to have is Mr. Okonkwo and some of his members may not get dollar from the CBN, and they must be in business. So they go to the parallel market. In going to the parallel market, they are going to push further devalue the Naira. Because one thing about economics is all about perception. If everybody is worried as we are right now, no matter what you do, the perception is that we are sinking. So what you need to do now is to ensure that these things that Labour are talking about, just imagine that if from Obasanjo we talked about refineries were not working, Yaradua we talked about refineries were not working, Jonathan we talked about refineries were not working, Buhari 8 years, Buhari had promised from the one that when it comes in is going to build two more refineries. That was not meant for it. That wasn't done for 8 years. So now Labour has been vindicated all this while. But what I expect Labour to do now is to go beyond salary increase.
What I want to know is whether you think that Nigerians really understand this deregulation we're talking about. For a number of people, yes, it was a very painful pill to swallow. I mean, initially when the subsidy was taken away and, fuel prices shot up to 500 and something in many parts of the country. But yesterday, the shock expressed by many Nigerians, you have to ask, do people really understand what a deregulated market means? And do you think our government has done its best to try and explain to people, just what's going to happen and what needs to follow, or what their own plans are with regards to where we right now are within this deregulated market?
No, I think government need to do more to communicate what is actually at play. Because yesterday, yes, I saw people were angry. Just like somebody I spoke to, when I got the news that this was going to play out, and I called somebody in Abuja, the person informed me that he has just bought at 500 naira. I don't want to mention the filling station. And then somebody else now told me he went there 45 minutes later and he bought at 615. So what the government should do is to communicate this to Nigerians and let Nigerians know that, yes, the prices are up, just like what you have in gas, cooking gas right now. Cooking gas a couple of months was going for about 9,500. What you have, price of cooking gas is about 8,000 naira for 12.5 kg right now. So the government has to communicate that when the prices go up, you pay more. When the prices go lower, you pay less. And again, if Nigerians are expressing shock, it's a new reality that we are in. You don't exchange it, no change is ever easy. Not to talk of these very difficult ones that put a hole in your pocket. So the government, the media, we all need to continually talk to Nigerians about this is the new normal. And if the prices also go down, you are also going to pay less. And I also hope that marketers, when the prices also go down, they are not going to wait. They will also instantly reduce their prices. But the government need to do more of an effective communication to let the people be aware. That's one. Then number two, the government need to hit the ground now and start looking for various intervention measures that can be carried out. If the government doesn't do it, in the next 3 months, and then the prices are still going to, the price of crude is still likely going to be higher because of the OPEC cut.
I don't know, you've accused marketers of making a kill. Now, Mr. Koronko is here. I'm sure he can defend marketers for himself. But I wanted to ask you if you think that is a fair statement to make. Because when you look at by how much the price of fuel has gone up, I mean, take, for instance, in Abuja, where we're buying 570 just 2 days ago, and yesterday it went up by as much as 47 naira. These are the kinds of, you know, how will I put it now, increments that you cannot even predict. You cannot predict by how much it's going to go up. Can you really say that marketers are making a kill when they too are not certain as to what price they are going to be buying when they go to the depots?
I didn't generalize. I said some of the marketers. You know, if you still have a product, in-house, why increase the product? If I buy a product at 50 naira, and suddenly where I'm going to buy it, I've increased to 60 naira. Does that mean I go ahead and start selling at 60 naira? No, because the last time I bought this product, I bought it at 40 naira, so I'm selling at 50 naira. So why don't I stick to that? That's why I talked about some of the marketers has to do with issue of morality. But I'm not saying that generally all marketers are not putting all of them in one basket. No. There are some, based on their morals, who stick to the price, and there are others who decide that, okay, fine, let me take advantage of this. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
Well, I'm sure that my colleagues in Lagos, or Mr. Okoronkwo, do you want to quickly respond to that? Because he said that, you know, marketers are making a kill when they sell at the new rate, even when they still have old stock.
Well, I think it's relative. I know that the seller knows what the market portends. The word making a kill, for me, is an aberration.
What about profiteering?
How? That the source where you are getting this product, you know, they have changed their own price. Even at the tarmac where you're loading. Will you still be in business?
No, what he said, what the thing is, if you bought this product at 60, the agreement or the expected agreement is you go and sell it at the price, prevailing price at the time.
There is no more price regime. See, look, let me tell you.
I understand that, but so it can't be arbitrary.
When you finish that product, maybe you want to officiate your price from what, will you go back and get the product again?
You will buy at the next price and sell at the next price.
Where will you get the money to make up?
But you have you don't have funds to buy. No, Mr.
No. All these things are. Look, let me just tell you. These things are the realities we are facing now. Where you go back to pick this product, even some of my members who can go and check from an NPC have not gotten money to make up a product that we are paying for 8.1 million naira. Now they need extra 15 million to add to that 8.1. I mean, the one that we suffered before. And the same thing has also come again. It's a business where you cannot even, with that 20-something million, you can make up to 500,000 naira. Go and check. So how do you remain in business? We're only managing to exist in this business. But when people are making a kill, how?
Well, let's bring in our colleagues in Lagos.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I think this exposes maybe a fundamental flaw in the way we've carried on as a nation, and that's the need to essentially communicate with people, I mean, from government to the citizens, particularly now the marketers to the the consumers or customers, as the case may be. I don't think there's anything wrong in having a conversation or gathering them at that point saying, well, this is what's going on. This is where we have to increase it. Yes, people will protest, but communicate. Speaking of communication, Mr. Koronko, I'd like you to confirm, because the CEO of NNPC Limited said yesterday that a number of companies have imported products as of today. That was yesterday. It says private companies are now important. Can you confirm that indeed there are others importing, or is NNPC still the sole importer of this product?
Yeah, thank you, Ayo. I'm supposed to be in Lagos today. There is this flag off. We ought to be in Amidst depot facility. His product is in town now. We are supposed to be there, but for this interview, I would have been in Lagos. So it's true that people have started bringing in product. Now, would they sell at a loss? The answer is no. They have to look at their numbers and see how they can still be in business. It is true, about 3. I heard about A.Y. Shafa, Emadeb, and other people. They are bringing, and the number will continue to increase like a seller. That is the area where government must do something to reduce the pressure on Naira, because people will definitely go and bring in this product. And thank God they are now getting higher income from the sale of their crude, which of course should also help us strengthen our Naira. The black market, as at yesterday, was going for 820 to 840. And there is no more second window for this product. Everybody is in the same window. Before, it used to be maybe a government window, 450-something naira. Then black market maybe 700. But now, all that is no more there. So the reality is there. But like I have been saying, we have an alternative in gas, the CNG. Government needs to see how they will bring marketers, bring all the players, so that we begin to deploy this CNG.
Mr. Koronko,
the CNG, we are not going to import it.
Right. Pardon me, on that point you made,
it.
I think CNG is a whole, it's a conversation that we also need to have. I mean, the cost of conversion between 250,000, some say as much as 400,000, especially now. Imagine the rates will have increased. So how do you expect people who are still struggling to purchase petrol for, what, 600 naira per litre to eke out that much so they can convert their vehicles to start using CNG? That's one conversation that we'll definitely have. But still speaking on this important matter, because the NLC president yesterday particularly said that the government is deceiving Nigerians, or NNPC in particular, deceiving Nigerians when you say independent marketers are bringing in petroleum products into the market. You have said, indeed, they're bringing in the products. It looked like earlier on you said that NNPC is still the sole importer. But are we to really expect that the prices would go down? Can you vouch? Can you give your word? Maybe to do that, you can help us explain or understand how you even got to the price of 600 and whatever the marketers are fixing now. What are those components that make it what it is right now? So what costs might be removed such that it would go down, so we know what to pay attention to?
Yeah, PMS is like any other commodity. It is the market fundamental that is the determinant. I think by the time all these OPEC and other countries producing crude start pumping in enough into the system, remember, Saudi Arabia have removed about 1 million barrels of their allocation. These are also part of what we are suffering today. The Ukraine-Russian war, is also a factor. But I think nothing is, fixated that cannot change. That is why we in IPMAN, we are thinking about a local alternative, a remedy that will help this country mitigate all this exposure, all this pressure on dollar. We need to do something. And that is where we have resorted in looking elsewhere. Like you said, we'll discuss it, it's a conversation, but there is no better alternative for a country transiting from PMS. The gas is the answer. And by God's grace, we have abundance of this being wasted in billions of cups every day. That is the area government will now begin to say, look, workers, let them get a single-digit loan. Gradually, they can pay off. On how to create the market, because the business, there is no market for it. And we are laying 60,000 kilometer miles to Morocco because there is market there. Whereas we have over 200 million people that you can also develop this market. That is our own, thinking that the moment the market is, developed, the man putting his investment in gas will have a cost to recover. And government needs to do something. By extension, it will also create wealth for them and also, create job opportunities.
Let me take this to Mr. Sele quickly.
Price
because there's been lots of...
might be.
Pardon me, Mr. Okoronko, just a moment. We'll come back to you, but let's take this to Mr. Sele. There's been lots of permutations about what should have been done, what could have been. Some go as far back as I said, pre-2012 and 2012, when that government removed subsidy. And they thought, okay, maybe that was the best way this could have been done then. But of course, this present government, that was opposition then, stood against it. Some say that this government should come out and perhaps apologize, own up and say, well, maybe we should have allowed this and not have, played opposition to that extent. But of recent, we've had other presidential candidates who have said, well, this is how I would have gone about subsidy. The Labour Party presidential candidate, for example, saying, well, it will be like half, the subsidies were removed halfway, such that it wouldn't be just cold turkey, removing everything at an instance, said, fixing refineries, cutting cost of governance. Do you agree that this could have actually been done better?
Well, if I say this would have been done better, there are certain information, when you are outside, there are informations that you are not aware of until you become the president. And then when you become the president, then the informations that, no matter, even if you are contesting to be a president, there are information that will not be available to you until you become the president. So first thing is, the president have to look at the finances of the state. So that's one. And then number two, irrespective of what anybody running for office is saying, all three gladiators, that's the three major political parties, they all agreed that they were going to take away subsidy. So how the process of doing it is what is different. I was an advocate of why don't we do a gradual subsidy removal? And what I learned from head in this current administration was that even if we say we have to take away 20%, I said put 25% per annum. That was my own suggestion. But they said, if we have to take 25% away, how do we even know that we are paying less of the 25%? This is the first time I'm knowing actual figures of how many liters of petrol we are consuming a day. Right now, we are consuming about 46.6 million liters of petrol a day. Before this, we were consuming about 70 million liters of petrol a day. So if they had gone ahead and they have done 25% per annum, we would never have these figures. And then the government will only pay subsidy, reduce subsidy the first 2 months, and subsequently the whole thing will balloon again, and then they go back to square one. That was the information I got from the players in this administration, why they have to do what they are doing. Then on the other aspect of whether this would have been done long ago, yes, when you talk about what happened previously under President Jonathan, opposition parties are there to gain power. The first thing is that you have to identify, okay, what are you opposing? Will this give me power? That is what political parties are about. It's all about interest and they want to get power. So you, as Nigerians, our citizens of this country, is that we have to look at what is also in our own best interest. What would I expect this government to have done? Because right now, if you come to Lagos or Rivers, people that I talk to across the country, is that you end up spending about 70%. I'm not even talking about the middle class now. I'm talking about those who are struggling to survive, are spending about 70% of their earnings as transportation. So our attention is on the federal government right now. The total revenue that was shared across the federation was 789 billion. I think they're about. Now, nobody's asking how was that money put to use. It's not the direct responsibility of federal government to provide buses in states. Direct responsibility is that of the state government. So what we do is federal government can come just like what they do in UBE, go ahead and contribute 50% and then we match it. That's what the federal government is supposed to do in the presidential system or federal system that we are running. So you will not expect federal government to go to Lagos and provide buses. But federal government can give a guarantee to any manufacturer that if you produce X number of boxes, we will pay or will be the one to buy it and then distribute to states. Here, states also need to stand up.
Well, Mr. Stella, it could be, it sounds like a way to go, under the palliatives provision, particularly now that the president has said that the 8,000 naira palliative is being reviewed. But before we get into that conversation, I'm more concerned about, the price regime, particularly because of fears that it may go up. Now that Mr. Nwankwo has confirmed that some IOCs are entering the import regime, and that, the reality is that they're accessing Forex at $830, and because of that, they can only sell based on what they buy. And if you consider the NNPCL CEO saying that the market forces are determining the price of petrol and that it could go up and it could come down. When he says it could come down, is it making a political statement based on Mr. Nwankwo's explanation about how they are getting it, the price that they are buying at the international market?
No, it's not a political statement. It's going to come down. But the fact is, this is the law of supply and demand, one. And then you also know that crude oil is a commodity. Every commodity has boom and bust. So they are all cyclical. So what you have now, what has triggered the current price for Brent right now is because, just as Mr. Koko alluded to, there's a Saudi withdrew 1 million barrels. The Russians have also cut production. We have not been able to meet our production. So even if we are still less by over 500,000 barrels to meet our own OPEC quota. So if we have all of that in place and we have enough dollar, that will ease the liquidity squeeze, the FX liquidity squeeze that is currently going on. So let's assume you go into winter, which of course there are cycles whereby prices of crude will jump, and then there are also cycles where the prices will go down. So once you have these cycles, it will definitely come. It's just like the stock market. Things go up and whatever goes up also must come down. So it's not a political statement. And then the issue of whether the prices will continue to go. Yes, the prices will rise. Why will the prices rise? There are fundamentals that will drive price increase. First of all, a falling naira. Second, very difficult FX, your inability to access FX in the official rate. Whether you like it now, Mr. Koko said something about there's only now single window. No, there are two windows now that is emerging. The federal government want to have a convergence, but what you have right now is, if as at yesterday I&E window closed less than 800 naira. Now the parallel market closed at about 840. So if you have that, and then if Mr. A wants to import petrol and he's finding it difficult to get at the I&E window, he may have no option than to go to the parallel market. And if he goes to the parallel market and gets it at 840, he may not be able to even sell at 617. So those are some of the fundamentals that we must look at. But down the road, I am very optimistic that these prices will also go down. But then the government need to, let me use their phrase, they need to create a way to allow people to breathe so that when it starts sunny, they will be alive to enjoy it too.
Well, there's so many follow-ups to that, but I'll manage my time and go to the next bit of it, which is what Nigerians may be hoping for that will provide some form of relief for them, and that's the entry of Dangote into the mix. One will be wondering what exactly is the reason for the delay. Is he watching the market to see what's playing out? Perhaps you could, help us understand that. And if that's what's happening, depending on how high the price of pump price of petrol goes, would he be selling at the same price, or is there a possibility, because it's not importing, it's producing locally, is there a possibility that the price could stabilize or in fact come down?
Now, first, the market is very good for Dangote's entry. But what is happening, I think Dangote will be the best person to answer that. Because by his own projection, he said in July, so let's give him benefit of the doubt that by 31st of July, probably we'll have some first couple of liters coming from Dangote refinery. So Dangote will be the best person to answer that. But in terms of whether it's watching the market, I think the market is very ripe for anybody to come in. Because government, in the last 2 months, government have shown that they are not intervening. So government is ready to allow the market forces to take control. So I think it's very good for players to come in.
Mr. Nwankwo, let me come to you now. You were starting off on the conversation on palliatives, the CNG to be precise. There are reports of an African Development Bank intervention floating fund, to which some banks have also decided to also participating to provide investment loans for certain marketers. I would like you to confirm if that is happening and if independent marketers are applying for that investment window. And how soon can it begin to operate? Based on reports also that Nigeria does not particularly have the refining capacity for CNG. So how long will it take for that to come on stream if independent marketers are accessing this investment loan from the AFDB?
Let me tell you, we started our data capturing because we need to know the number of people and where and how. That way we'll begin to make more meaning. The business of CNG is very, very easy here because all this gas you see flaring in billions of cups, it doesn't take too much thing to convert them into CNG and LNG. And that is where to go now. We are not going to import it. There is no dollar, whatever, it's here. So the question you've asked, we have started liaising with our banks. About 7 banks have indicated interest in assisting us, where my member, with their 15% down payment of the facility, they can get the other one and spread the payment. That will begin to roll out pretty soon. Fixating our mind on crude, this crude should be sold and let us begin to make dollar. I hear people talking about refinery. Refinery, maybe we have about 4 refineries in Nigeria. If these 4 have issue, but in the case of gas, all this flaring, we have over flaring points that is over 100 flaring points that this gas you can get. There are other stranded gas too. We have gas in pipeline. So the gas is there. It's for us to now deploy the equipment. It's what we call plug and play. Under 3 to 4 months, the government needs to create the market to justify the investment. Somebody who wants to invest must be sure that there is market for that investment.
But Mr. Okoronkwo,
we in IPMAN we are beginning to do now.
Mr. Okoronkwo, does Nigeria have the refining capacity, the infrastructure, the pipelines to transport, the infrastructure to even produce it in the first place, and the pipelines to transport it? That's besides, the setting up of the stations to dispense it. Is that capacity available for production of CNG?
Let me tell you how it works. We have a system now where you can move gas to Sokoto. Even Bua Cement in Sokoto is using LNG. So it's not only by pipeline. You can also create, you see all this motor carrying all those long pipes. You move it down. It's a new technology. You can even, now have also gotten the right from our partners. You can bottle it and use it in your house, kitchen. And the beauty of this gas is it's not volatile like butane. This is methane gas. And it's there in billions of cups. Attention should be geared towards developing that market. That market is what we need for a multi-billion contract. For somebody to begin to give you gas, he must be sure that there is where you can sell it, not producing the gas, and there is no. That is why you see them flaring it. It's being flared in billions of cups every day in Nigeria. Availability is here. It's even estimated that the gas we have can last us over 500 years. And it's clean. We will also gain a lot of credit. We are signatories to countries that are trying to eliminate all these greenhouse effects. So why not government now begin to see how they will encourage investment into that will remove and reduce all these pressures. The crude, we should look at the crude on how to generate dollar. Refinery, when you refine, how do you get foreign exchange here? I'm not saying it's not good, but since we have this one, a lot of countries are importing it from us. Well, we can develop it here too and begin to use it. The technology is there.
All right, gentlemen, let's wind down with some of these questions now. Mr. Sele, did you ever bring up the question of the byproducts of the crude that we take out? Because many have told us on this program that we get way less value of the crude that we export to bring back to this country.
But that's true. We always talk about this, but it has to do with the capacity of those who are leading. You've seen in the last 60 days, we are making new mistakes, which is good. It's an evidence of growth. When you keep repeating old mistakes, then you are not growing. The new mistakes we are making right now is that, okay, what we should have done, what we are not doing, but it's new. But if you ask the question about gas, Nigeria is actually a gas country. Our gas reserve at the moment is over $3 trillion, our gas reserve. So if we go ahead and say, let's take advantage of the gas reserve that we have and allow private investors to come in, you're going to find out that down the road, it's going to be very beneficial for the economy, beneficial for everyone, and to create wealth. There are a Nigerian company right now that is investing about $5 billion in a gas floating company, and they want it that way. And once you have that, like what Okonkwo has said, is the market available? Once the market is available, you find it to be easier for us to move on. Then the other aspect is refinery. He made reference to refinery. Why refineries need to work is, first of all, for our national security interests. That's one. Then number two, why the refineries need to work is also for export. If you're able to export your product, you get dollars from it, just like the way you are exporting crude oil. So if we are able to get all our mix right, I am still very optimistic that, yes, down the road, these whole policies may work out well, but the government need to do something in the interim to cushion the pain that the people are going through right now.
All right, Mr. Okonkwo, people still don't agree with your earlier point about not selling crude at the price for which you bought it, because they say you still make profit. Petrol. That you still make profit from the prevailing price. Even when you buy the new product, you still make profit from there. So they then wonder what the NDDC seems to be doing, because we seem to be at the mercy of marketers.
In a deregulated regime, the pricing is not their, purview. It's not within their purview.
It's not the
pricing. It's a market. Let me just tell
that you stick to the rules. If you buy at
which rule are you talking about?
You're supposed to sell.
No, you're bringing us to the old system we have cross.
So what is the new system?
The new system is you bring your price, the market. If Mr. A is selling 500 and you are selling 700, nobody will go to your filling station. That is what will happen. Now the realities are there.
That cannot be the only condition.
No. Let me tell you, when you see maybe Airano is selling cheaper, everybody, the line will be so much. Then you go there and wait. The business model have changed from price fixing. What determines everything now is the fundamental, the realities on ground. Somebody cannot argue with me. It's a business. I mean, if you buy product maybe 25 million naira, check okay, let me just give you now. 25 million naira. The profit there is no more than 500 naira. And you see some extortions from the depot. People like tanker driver will begin to tell you, you do this, you do that.
In the deregulated economy.
In the same product.
The same deregulated market.
Yes, that is why we are not letting the government to know that this business, the model have changed and everybody have to change for good.
There are several theories out there. Some even think that, look, the volume of petrol that Nigerians consume has drastically reduced. And so they have to hike these prices to make up, to meet the volume and the threshold. And so several theories, really. But I guess in the days ahead, because certain fundamentals are not in place. We don't have a proper transport system, because when transportation goes up, it affects everything, every value chain, because people move goods and services. So they add all of those, and then services hike. So it's...
That is
what
why
a cycle.
we are bringing something that will...
The transport system?
Yes. This CNG,
well,
the cost of fueling your truck from maybe Kano to Lagos to and fro with diesel is about 1.something million. But with CNG, you can get it under 200,000.
So you won't tell us tomorrow international gas price will matter?
No. Gas business is not like petrol. It's signed, maybe 5 years, 10 years, the price will not change. It's not like these other businesses.
I guess we'll see. We don't know what impact Dangote Refinery will also have in the scheme of things, since it's, but I guess we'll wait and see. But gentlemen, I want to thank you, Mr. Peter Esela, former president of Pengasin, and Chinedu Okoronkwo, president of IPMAN. Thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we will be back in a moment. Stay on with us.
About the development of the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, is seeking collaborations with donor and development partners in order to chart a course for addressing the varying issues plaguing the region.
If you're doing business in Nigeria and the Niger Delta is not peaceful, then that means it's like shooting yourself on the feet, because the Niger Delta guarantees the prosperity of this country. So we all have to make it as a collective effort to ensure that the Niger Delta is also very, very peaceful. And what brings about that peace is when there is prosperity, when there is youth employment.
This meeting, therefore, presents another opportunity for our stakeholders and development partners to assist us on the best mechanism to be evolved and adopted at ending the unkind narrative in order to continue to jointly develop the Niger Delta region.
The Commission is looking towards legacy projects that can impact directly on the living condition of the people, including the NDDC East-West Road Coastal Road project.
The Niger Delta Regional Power Pool project. We intend to build, because the importance of power, energy, we cannot emphasize that. As a matter of fact, there is a direct correlation between power and insecurity. You see, if the power is expensive and it's not available, industries cannot grow. So if we can provide cheap power to the region, we believe that will drive industrial growth. And if industries are abound all over the place, unemployment will reduce, quality of life will improve.
The development partners say a few words with a promise of collaboration. The NDDC management says it's rolled out a mechanism for transparent mobilization and management of partner resources so that investment from development partners can be scaled up to continue to improve the environment and livelihoods of the people of the region. Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Well, Fubara Blessing joins us now. He is the creative director for Project Hope. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamber. Hi, Malpe. Good morning.
Yeah, you know, now that lots of people are grappling with this reality of fuel price, it's hitting hard, hitting home in a harsh way, and it's a scenario that will be here for a while from the look of things. Then the region, young people in this country, particularly in the region too, also in this equation. Now, we understand that the Commission is coming up with this Project Hope, which is aimed at, which is going to create, what, 10,000 jobs, is that right? And then you're developing the potential, the database to ensure that it's not business as usual. Because part of the criticism is that, look, all of this project, highfalutin, some of them elephants, at the end of the day, they don't deliver to the people, and that's what they don't want to see moving forward. What is it that will, what is this Project Hope about, first of all, and how's it going to be different?
Okay, first, from where you started from at this time in the country, it's quite of a note that government concerns would have to be all hands on deck to see how to, you know, put in effort to ameliorate whatever times that the people will be facing as a result of the new policies of the government. From the top, it's renewed hope, because for the first time, you see Nigerians are all very quiet, trying to see what the policies will turn out to be, in as much as there's going to be a lot of sacrifice to this effect. So for us at the region, we said Project Hope is quite timely at this time, because the Project Hope is just an acronym for Holistic Opportunities, Projects and Programs for Youth Engagement. And why we say it's timely at this time, the Project Hope is a core project and SPV for us to see how to develop a parameter to do sustainable youth development and youth concerns. So back to the question that you asked, yes, a lot of people have been raising a lot of questions. We all know prior to this time what the story has been with the NDDC as a commission. Firstly, the commission was set up with a mandate to see to the rapid socio-economic growth and economic prosperity of the people, also ensuring that they become politically stable. But if you look at the times, 23 years after the establishment of the Act, it's been a lot of issues down the line. In as much as you also agree with me that lots of effort has also been made from the side of the Commission to see how, you know, they will make a difference. But yes, the doubt has been there. The doubt has been there because the sincerity of purpose has not been established. The sincerity of delivery has not been established. In fact, before this time, we've been looking at the Commission more like a construction company, where it's all about road and infrastructure. Yes, that's good for the region, because also the mandate is to develop the region. But how about people? How about the people? How about developing the people? How about making them economically prosperous?
Yeah, so how is this particular Project Hope going to directly develop the people?
Okay, first of all, the project is consciously designed to establish a sincerity of purpose and delivery. That's why the board, immediately they came in, they first looked at the issues of policy, internal administrative policy, then of course they started engagement to do needs assessment, so you can listen to the various youth groups, to hear from them before you go back to the board, to come up with recommendations out of that. That was how Project Hope was born from. Now, Project Hope in the first phase, which we have just flagged off, has developed a system resource potential database for Niger Delta youth, which is first applauding for the first time in the region. If a board has come and is ready to do things properly, to show sincerity of purpose, then you must have parameter for planning, a parameter that can be evaluated, a parameter from which your plans can be monitored. The reason for the database, which is the first phase of the project, is for us to have a genuine parameter to be able to first see the magnitude of the problem that we are facing. Who are the youths? What are their potentials? What are their qualifications? What are their skills? What are their interest and passion? With this, we should also now go down the line to be able to decipher how many of them have been reached out to or attended to before this time. Because we all know that lots of interventions has been put up for the purpose of the people of the region, from the President's Amnesty Project to the Ministry of Niger Delta to the NDDC. And this comes up with lots of budget that are also for youth development annually. And if you look at the pool, if you look at statistics from BSC, you see that the region still scores, apart from Lagos, one of the highest rates for misery rates and unemployment. What is happening if all of these interventions has been put in place? So the system addresses this going forward.
What about the integrity of this database?
Now, when you talk of data integrity, I believe that one of the things that you consider first is data has to be voluntary. First, if data is voluntary, then you look at the pedigree of the institution that is housing the data. Second, data integrity has to do with data protection. The data protection means that there are certain information that you don't ask the people for. And you should also be able to protect the security of the information that you ask for solely for the purpose of the program, which we're going to take over the course of this.
Go ahead.
I was just, well, if you still have a question, I was just going to say that I do wish you the very best. I mean, because a number of people will really want this to succeed. And I'm glad that you're taking on board the fact that a number of other projects had come on before now to look after the region. But it doesn't seem that they have made much of an impact, because if we're to go with the National Bureau of Statistics and what it is that they say about the region, or even the multidimensional poverty index that was released just last year, about how one of the poorest states was actually from the Niger Delta.
For Q4 2022.
Yes, yeah. It was quite shocking for a number of people. But I'm wondering how you're going to be integrating this with states, because we know that a number of state governments do also have these sort of programs, these empowerment programs which they want young people to be involved in. How do you intend to work with states to see just how much they have covered, how much ground they have covered, and perhaps what the Niger Delta Development Commission can be doing?
Okay, Maupe, unprecedentedly for the first time, we're trying to see that we engender a proper partnership with the states and the NDDC on these projects. The reason is the states, yes, do have their own plans for youth development. It's never enough, but we have designed something strategically different from what we used to know, something that should be practically delivered from the assessment of the people. First, we're starting with the host state, which is Rivers State, which you can see that I think across board the entire governors in the Federation, we have the youth governor in Rivers State, who has also shown his poise and commitment to see to immediate youth development. So we designed the project. Every state is a member of the 9 states of the Niger Delta, as far as I'm concerned. And every youth from this 9 states is also from Niger Delta. So for us with the SPV from the NDDC, we're going to be carrying out the different projects we're going to reel out here that are practical, that are timely, that will take off immediately while we are collating data, while we are also establishing the partnership with the state to see how to explore resources and, of course, facility partnership at the state level to see that the project is reality.
In other words, you don't exactly have a modality right now. You're just going to see how it is that you can partner.
We do have the modality we designed from the principles of the public-private sector partnership. The reason is we want to see to the sustainability of each of the industries and establishment that will be born out of it. So the modality for partnership for us with the state government is from the government and community public-private sector partnership, where all we're asking the state for would be for facility. Facility for the landed assets for the agro-allied farm industrial establishment and processor chain. Facility for the tech hubs that we're going to use for techpreneurial development. And of course, subsequent facilities that would enable the execution of the different holistic opportunities.
How is this different from any of the other projects that the NDDC has taken on before now?
Okay, basically
for instance, the presidential amnesty program or all the other ones that focused on people development?
Good question. First, the mandate of the presidential amnesty program was to identify these agitators, bring them on board, train them, reintegrate them, and empower them. I don't want to go into the scheme and the success of it. Your media, we all know. But none of this scheme came with a parameter. None of this scheme came with a principle of monitoring and evaluation, which the database is doing for us. And for all of the programs that we have designed to engage these youths for, we're not designing it in our own accord. These programs are designed from the assessment of the analysis of the potentials of their resources. I will tell you something. After our research over a while, we see that in spite of the narrative that is being patterned because of our spirit of agitation, we still stand out to be some of the most committed, the most resourceful and resilient youths for resource potential around the world. So this is what we also want to show, where we analyze these potentials and put it into use for engagement. You don't come and draw up skill acquisition for somebody at the age where the person would have been used to one or two illegals that sees big money. How about identifying the person's skill and develop or give platforms for it to enable other one or two opportunities? That is job creation, and that's what we're doing. And you can't do this without having a data, without having a parameter to know what the people want, what they are and who they are.
How long is it going to take you to collect this data?
The data is continuous. It's a collation process. We have just flagged off online from the 12th of August next month, symbolically International Youth Day. We're going to flag off the establishment of the local collation centers across all the 185 local governments in the region, because the MD has directed that for those persons that will also have issues with accessibility of mobile network or Android phones for registration, we must go offline. Because if we talk about identifying Niger Delta youths between the age of 18 to 45, then if we look at identifying potentials, education or urbanization is not a criteria for potentials. You can also see
I'm just asking, what's the window? Because if you said that the parameter or the database is what you actually need to start off, it means it is critical and fundamental to the success of your program. So the question is, how long do you intend to gather at least the first phase of data with which you intend to work? How long is that going to take?
Beautiful. First, we're not stopping. The data collation will be continuous. We have started. We launched on the 12th, and unprecedentedly, before the next 48 hours, we did over 5,000 data, and the MD and the EDP has directed that immediately we should start analysis and engagement, which the Commission has already drawn out some skill sets from next week that we're going to reach out to immediately. First, to put to the integrity of the database and the project, and secondly, to let them know that indeed there's hope to make a difference.
Okay, let's go to Lagos now. 5,000 people in 48 hours. Interesting. But I'm sure my colleagues in Lagos have questions for you.
Oh, absolutely. And this follows up, it's a follow-up to the timeline that you were asking about. So the names or the database is being compiled now. When will the proper Hope, the project Hope, kickstart? Where will the jobs begin to roll in? I don't know if you might want to reiterate that, if it's something you've not said before.
Okay, first of all, the Hope project has kick-started. Like we said, it's acronymed Holistic Opportunities Project and Programs for Engagement. The first phase of it is the collation of data, Niger Delta Youth Resource Database, which has flagged off. Like I also said before, the engagement process, we ruled out 5 different areas that we're going to commence engagement with. This is the area of agro expansions and processor chain establishments is in partnership. We also looked at the area of music and arts project, which is predominantly one of the highest generators of labors and employment today for the youths of the country. We're also looking at the areas of tech, having a tech community, because this is also predominant in terms of resourcefulness. We also looked at the area of entrepreneurial support, monifying platforms to support businesses, as well as internship programs. Like I said, the project has kicked off. We have started collating data, and we are putting the data collated in use immediately. From the side of the Commission, from the desk of the Directorate of Skills Development, they have also reeled out some skill sets immediately that the Commission will be reaching out to engage in immediately. Then from September 4th, immediately, we are going to commence the Niger Delta Music and Arts Project that would also empower five persons from each of the states in the areas of music production, cinematography, script writing, skit making, and DOP.
If I get you correctly,
we're also setting up like the MD. The MD directed, because basically before now, the tech hub for us was supposed to be a prototype for one state, because we developed the prototype for engagement according to the state's terrestrial advantage and resources. But MD, in his passion and poise for immediate development, has directed that the tech hub must be established across the 9 states. All of this, we are hitting the ground running as the coalition is ongoing.
Right, so if I get you correctly, this is more of an empowerment, skills empowerment, not really giving them jobs, like perhaps connecting them with a job they will do, you know, maybe recommending them, because I remember that I think the Ministry of Labour had this sort of database for people who are looking for jobs, or they register and they will connect them with employers. So this is essentially an empowerment scheme, and you say that the empowerment has started, because you kept saying immediately. Has the empowerment started?
Not really. Yeah, now, like we said again, is holistic opportunities, programs, and projects for engagement. Now, for the part of the employment that you talk about, this is why we built a robust data system first that we can engage with. In the area of requisitions from employers, the best way for you to get requisition is from a credible platform. That's why employers hire the services of consultants for employment. So for us as a region, we've built a platform that will enable us match and match requisitions with professionals and, of course, qualifications on the system. Then the project desk will stand as guarantors and buffer between the employers of labor and those persons with the requisite requisition.
So maybe the framing then is what I have a challenge with, pardon me, because it's set to create jobs. But what you're saying now is to link those who do not have jobs with the jobs that they can then do. So in essence, this is not creating jobs. I just want to be clear so people know what to expect. Just to be clear on the framing.
I also need you. Yes, I also need you to be clear enough. Again, that's why I'm always reiterating that they are holistic opportunities. We're not just doing job linking. Now, there is a Project 999 that is a first takeoff pilot of engagement. The Project 999 is an agro-allied partnership farm and processor chain establishment where we've designed 9 farm templates with each processor chain according to terrestrial advantage and resources of the various states. This farm establishment, we're also going to start groundbreaking from September. This would now employ professionals, skilled, unskilled, and labor persons. This is employment job creation. For the issue of the Tech Creek, which is a tech hub that we're going to be creating and enabling and facilitating grounds for techpreneurs to have access to compete internationally on tech creations and system designs. This is also going to commence immediately. This is not just empowerment. We're also doing the Niger Delta Music and Arts Project, like I said, which is an area that we all know what entertainment and music and art does today around the world.
Yes,
so
you
they are
made
holistic
that point,
opportunities.
Me, so that my colleague can come in. I mean, it's very interesting. I'm excited about that, at least for the young people. But quickly, how much is this going to cost?
What do you mean, how much is it going to cost?
How much is it going to cost Project Hope or the NDDC to put this together? What is it costing you, or is it being funded by...
The Project Hope is powered, like I said, ab initio on a public-private sector partnership. The design of the project is meant for NDDC to do 30% of every establishment cost at the level. So the scheme has been rated out for each of these industries that we're coming up with. They have their budget, and our partner investors are coming in with 50% of the budget, 20% of the landed assets give the community that has the land, which we already have 4 states with 50 acres contribution already. It gives them 20% equity in terms of the sharehold. That leaves 30% for NDDC. So we did not, unlike, that's why when we come up with this on the national TV, we are proudly, because the NDDC have been known with the stereotype of funds going out on projects that are not accomplished. But for this time, I think the Samuel Obuku and Charles Ogunla board is set out to do bigger projects with even less fund for the commission. So the funding is not put on the commission. The funding is spread across the private sector partnership interests that are partners on every level of the project.
For me, I'm wondering, Mr. Fubara, is the infrastructure on ground in all the member states, you know, because I've read your statement and it talks about empowering youths, 1,000 jobs in each state of the Niger Delta, where you're training them, you know, in the areas of their passion, if I'm correct. So if you're training them, if it's a skill empowerment program, are you partnering with skill development agencies in member states, or the agency has put on ground a structure that will be enduring, which will lead me to the next question. But first of all, you can respond to this.
Yes, basically the agency has put an enduring structure on ground, that's one. But again, I still keep repeating, the project is built to be sustained on the principles of partnership, both government, public, and community. Now, the skills development centers and concerns in each of the states, we are drawing the partnership across board. Not just that, we're also drawing an overall partnership of the state government, because this is not just only in the area of skills development, they are holistic opportunities. So we're going to be tapping engagement strategies from every sector that we see that there's a need to come from. So what we're asking the state to do for the first time is to see that we have come up with a template that for once should work. So let's jettison the interests and sentiments that we've had over time in terms of flawed relationship with the commission and the state, and come on board. At the top is renewed hope. At the region is hope. I also believe at the state level, it should be more hope to the youths.
Now, just to be clear, Mr. Fubara, is there a guarantee that upon transition from training, those jobs are assured for the youths that will get trained?
Now, the guarantee that we have is, one, the 5 specimen projects that have been designed. Let me just give you a little brief, because a lot of people would say government always come up to talk of jobs. How do they do this? The reason why we created the data system is not just for the collation of data. There's a testimonial bank that will be open to the public, where you see everybody that is engaged on the system for yourself. That's one. Secondly, I give you an instance of Delta State, where we have designed a mechanic village. This mechanic village will have direct partnership with 3 international automobile companies. This mechanic village, we are giving out a 12 square meter shade with a dog car pit to 500 persons, one each for each of this space. Now they are going to also get this space with a configured system directly from the partner automobile company that has a full diagnose system for cars. And they're also going to have a license to have a direct supply of spare parts from the company. For example, we know the rate of inferior spare stars in this country. Now, for each of these 500 persons we are giving this shade, all you owe the commission is for you to employ more 2 persons, a panel beater and a spray painter, which is what you will need for that very shade. This gives us 1,500 persons, my dear. That's practically one for the community. Now, we look at a state like River State, our state, where we have designed a cassava farm on 30 acres and a cassava processing machine and offshore fishing with fishing trawlers. Now, this cassava farm, because we have a processing machine inside of the farm, it will employ both engineers, it will employ both marketers, it will employ both accountants, it will employ both mechanical engineers, because they will be machinery driven. So for this, again, we're engaging 500 persons that will need only one additional support engagement that will give us direct 1,000 persons only on the cassava scheme. Not to talk of the fishing trawler, not to talk of the tech community that we're also creating. So we have practical system for engagement. We're only calling on the people to jettison the issue of distrust in terms of government policies and project implementation. And first give trial to a system that has come to do things right.
If this is a public-private partnership, what's the benefit to the private investor over a period of time? What is the assured return on investment for the private participants?
Okay, the benefit, first of all, is we looked at consumption production. Consumption production are the areas that we can power. These are areas that we never go wrong because we eat every day, and of course, you know what demand is. Now, for every of the industry, it's going to be established on a limited liability corporation that gives direct equity to investors. So because it's an industry, all our partners are already experts in the industry that already has establishment profile in the scheme. Because demand is sure, of course, if service is sure, supply will be sure, profit will be driven, then you know what the architecture of a limited liability company is. Of course, profit will be managed to suit equity and share interests.
All right, so we need to wrap up, but at the end of the day, there's this question about needs assessment. You're already getting data and implementing. Was that done? And at the end of the day, is this going to be sufficient to perhaps dissuade those who probably engage, I think they call it profile or something like that, to ensure that this keeps them away from that?
You see, Chamberlain, what we're even begging right now are members of the Rim of the Fifth Estate that always wouldn't see anything right coming up from the region. Why? Because they think
what's Fifth Estate?
Don't worry, you do your research.
Oh, you mean fifth columnist?
You do your research, you know. Now, why I'm saying this is we've had a lot of voice coming up to say, oh, this is another scheme that the commission wants to take out money. This is another scheme without even knowing what the financial administration of the project is. So for us, we're looking at a means where every of this sector that has given us bad narrative would be redressed for good and positive narrative. For the people you just mentioned, they are doing this for the purpose of survival, which I think that if they see a platform that meets their need, their passion, or their interest, not a platform that you plan for them, what would that bring? Commitment to livelihood. And I think we're going to redress the reward system, which is doing a lot in terms of, you know, the insurgency and insecurity we're having.
All right, Fubara Blessing, Creative Director of Project Hope, thank you for coming on, and all the best with this project, because right now, people need whatever they can get to keep them going through with this subsidy matter, this unending matter. We do have some messages coming through from you out there. There's very first one is from Anthony. It's about crude oil theft. He says, why do the Nigerian security operatives burn tankers or vessel caught in illegal crude oil bunkering instead of finding ways of deploying it for the good of the nation? Okay, we'll try and ask them.
Indeed. This one is from Adenike Awe, who's talking about petrol price. It's obvious that the marketers are profiteering under the guise of market forces, okay? We all did basic economics. Your selling price should reflect your current purchase price, not anticipated purchase price. The government still needs to be involved in the operation of this sector and not leave the consumer at the mercy of these Shylocks.
And this one is also related to crude oil theft, but more specifically dwelling on the current price regime. From John Ogundele, he says, why is it so difficult to fix our refineries to boost petrol supply, thereby reducing the pump price of the commodity? We are the 6th largest producer of crude oil in the world, but still importing refined products. I've been hearing that question for as long as possible.
Indeed. Take a look at these tweets. One from Hassan Gwandu saying, when the landing cost nosedived to about 460 naira per litre last month, why didn't the price of litre come down to 500, or rather from 540? That's if the market forces really work according to Melekeri. And Festus Akiboyewa says, I read the alleged tweet from DSS yesterday. That's about our chats this morning. He says it didn't believe his eyes. If the tweet is truly from the DSS, it is offensive, unnecessary, and unhelpful. It should be taken down. So that's the tweets, or those are the tweets. We'd like to thank you so much for sharing your morning with us. I'll leave with these words. The president and the government was avail those palliatives. The president has given the order. So let's know what is in the works for Nigerians. A lot of people, I mean, this is too much for them to bear. So that's my parting shot. But I wish you the very best out there. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Yeah, as usual, I will always say, do as much as possible to rise against the odds. Thank you for allowing us to share your morning with you. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, we understand the ministerial list is supposed to come out today. The Senate President should be reading that list on the floor of the Senate today. While we keep tabs on that, we will also be reminding the President of his words, let the poor breathe.
One wonders, do market forces work at night or they don't work in the afternoon? Why don't they not let your short things go right? Anyway, that is the show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.